What's going on, Buff Nation? Welcome back to another video. So there's been a ton of drama surrounding Coach Prime leaving to Texas A&M. We've got some haters. We got Washington State's coach making some comments. We have a lot to go over, so sit back and relax. But first things first, imagine walking into your press conference after a long day of practice and being just smashed with this question right off rip.
Coach, I kind of just curious, with 6 straight losses, have you been part of a losing streak like this before at any of your stops playing coaching?
Good morning. Am I right? Washington State is on a 6-game losing streak after starting off 4-0, and he walks in, sits down, and gets just plummeted with that question there. He seemed to take it very well. They kind of reiterated a few other times, so obviously they're not too happy there. Washington State with the 6-game skip, but that was pretty funny. And then Coach Prime being compared to a clown?
Deion Sanders has been far more homie to clown than the second coming of Bear Bryant or Eddie Robinson.
Jason Woodlock did not hold any punches, and we're going to talk about his segment here in just a bit because, again, he refers to the Deion fan base as worshipers, yet he had an entire hour-and-a-half show last night, and an hour of it was all dedicated to Coach Prime, which usually you go to Sunday for an hour worshiping God. It seems to be, the kettle calling itself black, if I had to say so myself. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive into what the Washington State head coach had to say about the changes on offense, about the offensive coordinator, and what to expect when playing against Colorado this Friday night at 10:30.
Coach, this Colorado team kind of on a similar path as you guys. They start out hot. They've lost a few in a row, but apart from the Oregon game, they've been really tight games that they've been in. Obviously, Shedeur and Travis are very talented. When you kind of look at both of these teams, what do you think is going to be some of the factors that will contribute to one of these teams getting over the hump and getting the win on Friday?
Well, I still think you see two teams with a bunch of want to. When I watch their tape and I watch our tape, you see a bunch of kids that are competing. I think they're extremely talented at the skill position. The Sanders kid, the quarterback, is a lot like Cam, a creator, a strong arm player, elusive in the pocket, and can do a bunch of different things with the ball in his hands. I think he's an elite level talent. It's not just the Hunter kid at receiver. They got 10 and 5 and just a bunch of guys that can really make plays. So you got to neutralize them, try at the line of scrimmage. The other thing that's hard offensively is a different play caller, right? So you see similar things, yet low tempo, yet getting the ball out a little bit more quicker and concisely. So it's hard to kind of navigate, some of those challenges as well. And defensively, when you watch CU, you're going to see a team that dictates defense, right? They're going to attack you in all different phases. They're not a big drop eight operation. They're going to try to dictate to you and find different ways to be aggressive. So I think you see a team that's playing extremely hard. It's a credit to, Coach Sanders and what he's building there and what they're fighting for as well. And every challenge in this league is real.
So you hear the coach there, understanding to separate the difference that Schumer has already put into place, getting the ball out faster, allowing Shedeur Sanders to get it to the playmakers, because obviously with the struggles of the offensive line, how do we combat that is by getting rid of the ball faster so we're not having to rely so much on the offense. So, and again, tempo change is something we've all noticed. Still not running the ball as much as I think fans and probably even, Coach Prime would like to do so it can continue to be effective for allow the Shedeur Sanders, in my opinion, to flourish even more. If you have a run game that you have to respect, it'll open up things a lot more. Now, just so you guys are aware, again, these are 2 4-6 teams. This is a battle of the beatens as of now. Battle for last place of the Pac-12. So this is going to be a big time game for Coach Prime. As for Washington State here, look, I've been calling an upset for the last few weeks here because they're going to be underdogs until the rest of the season. They're, 4.5 dog underdogs for this game here. Then they have Utah at Utah, which is going to be a fun one against Utah. It's going to be a tough one as well. I liked them against Arizona last week. It was a tough one against Arizona. And like he said, and which we'll get into Whitlock and what coaches said, is that all these games outside of Oregon, and Coach Prime has reiterated that, have been within winning and the ability to get it done. They've all been close, as Washington State hasn't blown out in a lot of these few games and hasn't looked nearly as good as they did the first 4 games where they were causing some upsets and getting some big W's. They've not been that same team for the first 4 weeks, but what that does tell us is that they do have the ability to turn it on and light it up. As for the quarterback comparison to Shedeur Sanders, if you take a look at passing yards, touchdowns, and QBR, it's damn near identical. I think Shedeur has a few more touchdowns and not as many interceptions, receptions as Cam, but as passing yards and QBR, it is damn near, like I said, identical. Over 3,000 yards passing and about a 66 QBR for both quarterbacks. So you've got two guys that can, like he said, move the ball very effectively. But I like Colorado's defense here. They have really found themselves, I believe, in the last few weeks. Again, the trenches and stopping the run can look more effective, but they're hitting hard. They're getting to the ball very quickly and causing a lot of chaos on defense, which keep that in mind because when we get into the Whitlock segment where he kind of bashes Coach Prime and just running, rampant with how he's running his program, being the most undisciplined team. There's zero accountability. It's just a show. It's the real world Boulder, as he refers to it as. Keep that in mind because things have gotten progressively better throughout the weeks when they could have easily fallen apart, because if it is running like that, I believe it will fall apart. So this is going to be a fun game. It is on Friday at 10:30, which Coach Prime has been adamant about, that he hates these schedules that the Pac-12 has placed them in. But again, it is their last year in the Pac-12. So these wild scheduled games, this should be the last of it because the Big 12 doesn't really find itself in weirdly scheduled time zones. So we'll see how that all plays out for next year. But for now, we got a 10:30 time slot. This is their senior night for Washington State, so it is going to be an emotional game for them. But Colorado's got to go in there and be able to punch in the mouth. But let's dive into our next little bet here, which is Whitlock, Jason Whitlock. Again, big fan of Coach Prime. If you guys didn't know, I'm being sarcastic there. He took about an hour or so of his show to just bury Coach Prime in any which way that he possibly could. Now, I showed you that clip before where he basically was comparing him to a clown. I'm going to play this clip now. Again, it's an hour. I'm not going to play an hour of his show. So we'll watch this clip and then we'll discuss more on what he has to say about the situation.
Colorado won at least 4 games. Last year's 1-win season was an aberration. If you look beyond a single season, you can make a compelling argument that the program Jedd Fisch inherited in Arizona was in worse shape than the one Deion inherited in Boulder. Plus, no Power 5 coach before Deion has ever been authorized to run off his entire roster. Deion is a mercenary coaching a group of transfer portal mercenaries. He's not leading a miracle revival. He's running a demolition derby.
So he compares him to Jedd Fisch. Let's start with that first, because Jedd Fisch, he's saying, inherited a worse program than Coach Prime. That's a reasonable comparison, no problem there. But Jedd Fisch is 13-21 in his time as Arizona. This is his best year to date. And the year after he was hired, he went 1-11 and 5-7. So what's your comparison there? Whitlock, that he took over a worse team and now he's good? Well, yeah, 4 years later, after some time in the transfer portal, he's starting to find a rhythm. And this is no discredit to Jedd Fisch. I think he's done a phenomenal job this year at Arizona. But to say that he inherited a worse program, I'm assuming that you're implying that, hey, Arizona is here and nobody's given him his flowers like they should. Well, it's also taken him 3 years, and now he is getting a lot of credit this year and respect for what he has built. So I disagree with that completely because, yes, Colorado, where they're at right now, is not where they need to be, because then again, he goes on for another 20 minutes to basically level Coach Prime, saying that they're the most penalized team in the country, which in fact they are, which Coach Prime has addressed multiple times, saying that these are the things that we suck at, right? He talks about offensive line struggles. He talks about these struggles. And all I hear when I'm seeing this is like, Coach Prime has addressed all of these things. Now, I would understand it, right, if Coach Prime was trying to paint this picture that things were better than what they were, but he hasn't. He's been completely transparent with the struggles and where he's headed. And he's also been very vulnerable in the sense that he's not used to losing. He doesn't like where they're at. He's not happy with the production that he's put on the football field because, like what he's saying, the media has painted this picture that, hey, they have been much better. The worshipers, as he likes to call them, are saying, well, they won one game last year. Now they've won 4. All these things are just factual points that we're pointing to, right? And so he tries to almost say those are Deion's words. But Coach Prime has even come on there and says, look, you guys may be happy with production on the football field. It says, yes, have we gotten better since last year? Yeah, we have. But this isn't the standard that I came to set. This is the standard that I want to continue to maintain here at Colorado. So I would understand it if Coach Prime was preaching this. And at times when he needed to, he has defended himself saying, look, have we gotten better? Have we done things comparatively to last year? And he mentioned it, I remember, in one of the press conferences after a loss. Let's focus on some of the positives. It's very easy to, when you're down, to look at all the negative things and see why you're struggling and why you suck. And sometimes it's hard to focus on the light, the things you have done well from the transitioning to last year. So yes, he did take a moment to recognize the positives from last year to what they are doing this year, which I think every great coach should. You should focus on the good, because when there's a lot of bad, it's very hard to find positives in that. Again, Whitlock, and as anybody else, always has something negative to say. It's part of it. In this Deion saga that we are in currently, honestly, there's one side or the other. You're either full support and you love what he's doing, or you just absolutely hate it and you're going to continue to be a hater on his situation. So let me know in the comments how you guys feel about that. But let's move on to our last little segment here. Yesterday, we dropped a video about Coach Prime and what would it take for him to get to A&M. If it is a possibility, could we see that happening, right, for him to go to Texas A&M? I don't believe that he will this year. I think a future coaching job, maybe in 3 to 4 years to get to that next level, is definitely there. Stephen A. Smith wants him there. That was going around. But now people are also talking about him going to the NFL. Take a listen to this clip right here.
Throw a name out there. Ready? Prime time. How about Deion Sanders? He could be an NFL head coach. It's not that complicated. It's football. It really isn't. Yes, manage men, manage your staff, allow your coaches to coach, and be good in game situations. That's a problem for a lot of coaches in this league, and you know how critical I am of that. If you can do all that and allow your coaches to coach and put a good system in, you can win in this league.
Now, outside of the fact of Coach Prime coming out and being adamant about never coaching in the NFL, I think this is kind of a cold take here, because if you look at Coach Prime, you look at the personality, you have to look at this and say, I mean, this guy is the perfect college head coach. The way he can lead, the way that he carries himself, his energy, that kind of energy does not translate to the NFL head coaches. Just that style doesn't work. We're seeing it a little bit with Mike McDaniels, just kind of that big personality with the Dolphins. He's having some success with it, but again, it takes a certain breed to handle that. And look, Coach Prime, I mean, he hasn't really had not success anywhere that he goes, but I think he is phenomenal for college football and love for him to stay in college football. Now, for him leaving Colorado, as of now, me personally, I love him at Colorado. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. It just kind of fits him, the culture there. I think what he's building, just the atmosphere. I do believe he will continue to grow and move on to a bigger school. That's just the way of the land. That's what every coach's dream is, to continue to go up each to the next level. Same reason why he left Jackson State, right? What is his calling? Where does he want to go? How can he make an impact, I think, for college football? To be fair, I think he's done a good job of building a big brand at Colorado thus far. So we all say, like, well, go to the bigger school for more money, for more abilities to do these things. I feel like he hasn't struggled too poorly at Colorado. Again, I do believe recruiting is going to be a big factor. I know cold has always been a thing, just in Colorado, not prime time. All of these things are going to be a factor that are going to keep you underneath being where you think you can be. And that's, I think, eventually when Coach Prime sees that, hey, I'm being held back just due to the constraints of being in Colorado, I didn't see that moving on. Again, a lot of talk from this Texas A&M is being thrown around. Dan Lanning, his name's been tossed around, but he kind of shut the rumors up yesterday. Lane Kiffin also shut out the rumors. So where does Texas A&M go from there? Could they get desperate and really go after Coach Prime? Who knows? I don't believe they will. I don't think Coach Prime wants to leave. I think he's content with where he is. He's very adamant about playing with his sons, who are, expected to come back next year. So we'll see how that plays out. But I want to hear from you guys, your thoughts on all of these things. Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to smash the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.